Welcome to another episode of Miss Erica's Crazy Costume Catastrophe. This week, Miss Erica is dressed like a giant gift because we are going to learn about an awesome gift that God has given us. All right, let's get started. This week, be sure to read Ephesians 2 together as a family. Parents, you can find fun, creative ways to explore Ephesians 2 together as a family in your parent email. Also, there's also a link for a craft that I'm going to talk about later in the This Week portion of this video. So pause the video right now. Go ahead, print one out for everybody in your family before you watch the rest of this video. First, let's explore where we're at in our big Bible timeline. Remember, we have been learning that Paul was in prison for a long time. But Paul didn't waste his time while he was in prison. He was really intentional, and he told anybody he could about Jesus. And he also wrote lots and lots of letters. You see, Paul couldn't visit all of these churches that were all over the Roman Empire, but he could write them letters to teach them and encourage them about what it looks like to follow Jesus and make him your king. Remember, Paul wrote these letters to people living in specific cities with their own specific cultures. And so Paul's letters offer instructions and teachings on how to follow Jesus in each of these cultures. So they're all a little different, but there's something we can learn about how to follow Jesus in our culture from all of them. And these letters make up most of our New Testament. The book of Ephesians was written to people that were following Jesus in the city of Ephesus. Ephesus was a city on the coast of what we call Turkey nowadays. Here it is on a map. So let's explore the book of Ephesians a little. When we get to Ephesians 2, Paul spends a few verses reminding the people in Ephesus of who they used to be before they had made Jesus their king. Ephesus was a city that had a giant temple to a fake god named Artemis. Artemis was a female idol, and they believed that she was responsible for all of life, the life of plants, new babies, everything. And the people in Ephesus actually thought she was the most important goddess there ever was. She was better than any other god or goddess that you could worship. And so Paul knows these people really well. Remember, he lived with them for 2 years. And so he's reminding them that when they worshiped Artemis, they were constantly choosing out of God's best, always doing something terrible or mean or evil because they hadn't made Jesus their king yet. But now the people in Ephesus worship King Jesus. They understand that he is the only one true God. And they believe that he is responsible. He is the only one who can actually bring new life, both physically, but also spiritually and emotionally, new life to our communities and our families. And so then Paul reminds these people in Ephesus who they are now that they've made Jesus their king. I got my friend Clara to read to us a few verses from Ephesians 2. Take it away, Clara.
But God is so rich in mercy and loved us so much that even though we were dead because of our sins, he gave us life when he raised Christ from the dead. It is only by God's grace that you've been saved. For he raised us from the dead along with Christ and seated us with him in the heavens because we are united with Christ Jesus. So God can point us to us in all future ages as examples of the incredible wealth of his grace and kindness toward us, as shown in all he has done for who is united with Christ Jesus. God saved you by his grace when you believe, and you can't take credit for this. It is a gift from God, a salvation, not a reward for the good things we have done, so none of us can boast about it.
Thanks, Clara. Paul says so much awesomeness in those few verses about who the Ephesians are now that they have made Jesus their king. But I want to focus on just one little part. I'll read it again for all of us, okay? God saved you by his grace when you believed. And you can't take credit for this. It is a gift from God. Paul is reminding them that they have been saved or rescued, and they didn't do anything to earn this. Instead, it's just a gift that God gave them. In fact, Paul says, while they were constantly choosing out of God's best, God gave them this great gift of rescuing them. Does your mom or dad ever give you a gift because you do something? Think about it. Have you ever gotten to have ice cream after dinner because you cleaned your room? Or maybe when your mom takes you grocery shopping, she says, if you're a really good listener and you pay attention to me in the store and you don't whine, I'll get you an LOL surprise or something like that. And those gifts are really fun to get. And they also feel kind of good because we know I earned this LOL surprise or I earned this ice cream because I did something to get it. Well, Paul here is saying that's not the kind of gift that we have been given through God. Those gifts are fun because you earned them, right? You did something or didn't do something, and then you got a gift because of it. But imagine if tomorrow you didn't clean your room, you didn't do your chore, you kicked your little brother in the shin, and you yelled at your mom, and then you didn't even eat your veggies. And then your mom came in while you were doing all of those terrible things and said, hey, I got you a new puppy. That would be insane, right? That would be a gift you definitely didn't earn. Your mom would just be giving it to you because she's so sweet and kind. Not because you did something, but because she's just really sweet and wanted to give you something awesome. Paul is saying that's the kind of gift that God has given us. That's what Paul says God did for the church in Ephesus. While they were still sinning, while they were constantly choosing out of God's best for their lives, while they were following Artemis and all of her evil desires, while they were just constantly choosing out of good things that God had for them, God gave them this awesome gift. He rescued them from sin and death and even the consequences of sin and death. That's what Paul says God did for the people in Ephesus. While they were not following him, while they were following fake idols and their evil desires, while they were constantly, daily choosing out of God's best for them, God gave them this beautiful gift. He rescued them. He rescued them from their sin. He rescued them from death. And he even rescued them from the consequences of sin and death. And that's what God has done for you and me too. While we were choosing out of God's best for our lives, he gave us the most amazing gift ever. He rescued us. He rescued us from sin and death and even the consequences of sin. And he didn't do it because we deserved it. He didn't give you this gift because you got straight A's or you scored a goal on your soccer game. He didn't give it to you because you're a good boy or girl who obeys the rules. Instead, he gave you this gift of rescue when you didn't deserve it. That's what makes God's gift of rescuing us such a beautiful, amazing gift. This week, if you haven't already, have your mom or dad print out the costume video printable from our website. You can find the link in your parent email or in the show notes below. Print out one for everybody in your family. The first thing I want you to do is cut out this window shape in the middle of the window. Just like this. Then I want you to draw a picture on this side of the paper of a way of this past week that you chose out of God's best. Maybe you weren't a good listener yesterday, or maybe this morning you were really mean to your mom, or maybe a few days ago you didn't do your chores and you had a really bad attitude about it. Think about something that you did this past week that wasn't obeying God and draw a picture of it on this side of the paper. This is me not being kind with my words a few days ago. Did you know even grown-ups choose out of God's best? And this is a picture of Miss Erica not choosing in to God's best. The Bible calls that sin. Then I want you to flip over your paper. On the other side, you'll see there's a giant gift, and in the middle, there's a cross. First, I want you to draw Jesus on the cross. Then I want you to think of one thing that Jesus dying has given you. Maybe it's new life, maybe it's forgiveness, maybe it's joy or hope. Think about it as a family and talk about everybody sharing one thing that Jesus dying on the cross has given to you. And then write that thing somewhere in the paper. Okay, here's my drawing of Jesus on the cross. And then I wrote, Jesus gave me joy. Before I had made Jesus my king, I was sad all the time. Like I would cry myself to sleep almost every night. But when I made Jesus my king, he filled my heart with so much joy. So that's what I wrote on my paper. Now I want you to take your piece of paper and some tape. And I want you to roll up your paper so it's like a tube. And then tape it together. Okay, so it stays like that. So it should kind of look like a fat telescope. Hello! Your window should be on the outside and the gift should be on the inside. So now when I look through the window, I see the Jesus that I drew on the cross, and I also see what I wrote that Jesus gave me. So this is a great reminder that while I was choosing out of God's best for my life, God gave me his new life. He rescued me. He gave me the best gift ever. He rescued me from sin and death and even the consequences of sin. Like me being really sad, God gave me joy when I made Jesus my king. Not because I did anything to deserve it or earn it, but just because God is awesome and he wanted to give me the most amazing gift ever. All right, guys, it's been so fun hanging out with you. Thanks for watching another episode of Miss Erica's Crazy Costume Catastrophe. All right, guys, I'll see you on Sunday at 10:30 a.m. for another family large group in the park. We're going to be at Lake Accotink again at the large shelter by the lake at 10:30 a.m. I can't wait to celebrate Jesus with all of you. So bring out your family. I can't wait to see you there. Family large group in the park, 10:30 a.m. at Lake Accotink. Bye! Oh man, I have so much to do today. Okay, well, first I need to film my costume video, so I should put my costume on.